All right, we're recording.
Fantastic.
Good afternoon, Jenny. How are you?
I'm pretty good, Heidi. It's nice out, huh?
It's hot. It's like,
You're in Maryland. Oh, I'm in Florida. Don't even tell me.
oh yeah, it's probably real bad there, huh?
Yes. So,
All right, so we today are, first of all, why don't you tell everybody how they get a reading with you?
oh
And
yeah,
so go ahead and
sure.
tell
Yeah.
them.
Okay. So, I do tarot readings, psychic intuitive readings. Please go to my website, moonstonemusings.com. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm friends with Heidi. And yeah, so let's do it. Oh, you changed it. That looks better.
Does it?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does.
I made it bigger so we can see. I don't know how you know me with this. Me and you.
Me and you, man.
We're like the technology gurus, right?
For sure.
All right. So, okay. So we decided today we were going to discuss Alex Jones and the Megyn Kelly, and
Yes.
then we would also discuss Katy Perry and kind of what's going on with her. And I did some investigations on that because her birth chart is actually like a double egg reading. It's like somebody had her birth certificate in hand. So there's a time. We have a time, 7:50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What'd you manage?
Well, what's really funny is, okay, when I pulled it up first, I pulled it up and didn't even pull up the chart. So I pulled it up and it said she was a Scorpio rising with Venus and K2 in the first house. Her birthday is kind of close to mine, okay, because my birthday is September 12th, 1984. She's October 24th, I think, 1984. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. Because first of all, my friend Lola, who she's on one of my YouTubes, she's a Scorpio rising with Venus and K2 in the first house, right? So after I was like, there's no way that, because it was on a Vedic astrology chart. So looks like somebody did put her time into a Vedic astrology chart, but it wasn't, they must have had it tropically.
Right.
So I turned it over Vedic way, put her birthday in, and it was like Libra city. She's planets in Libra. What do you think of a Libra? Outgoing, life of the party. They're very liberal, for sure. All Libras tend to be very liberal.
Yeah.
And
what's interesting about that, like what comes for me is she's a liaison. She's political. She has a way of kind of just getting them. She's very political. She's a good talker. It's almost, and which really kind of makes sense that she would be so balanced and all about, she's almost like a diplomat. She's a representative of the machine.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
So this is per Dennis Harness. I always use this as like a quick guide. Okay, so my notes. But Dennis Harness has a great book out there. And Libra Lagna is rising. Strongest ascendant, political powership, leadership, skillful in business and trade, career success, searches for beauty, truth, and fairness, very frank and forceful about their opinions, militant nature, good social work, love humanity, social functions, groups and friends, government job, organizational development. Okay, so it's a movable sign, but here's the kicker. She's got Moon, Saturn, Mercury, Sun, and Pluto all in the first house.
Wow.
So the moon, she's born with an eclipse, right? So, or when the moon and sun are together in the same house, or that's somebody that's like going to be very prominent in society, or they come from a family with, but that also shows you why she rebelled against her father, because her dad, I was watching this YouTube, and she's a mess because he's very religious.
Yeah.
Right? And
well, that's part of it. That's part of the whole thing. The whole thing is very contrived. She didn't rise to stardom by accident. She is an MK Ultra. You know what I mean? And we'll get into that. But her stars are absolutely.
I'm going to share it on the screen real quick so you can look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Just real fast. I'm just going to do
do your thing, girl.
One participant at a time. Why is it not letting me share it? Here we go. Sorry. Okay. Look at this. Okay, so this is our first house,
Oh my gosh, look at that.
right? And Saturn, so Hillary Clinton, okay, has a lot of planets in Vishaka. That's what I think I think Hillary could be a Libra ascendant, Vishaka possibly.
Oh yeah.
Um, and Vishaka Nakshatra is all about, it's like the spiritual warrior. It's the most, everybody that has planets in this is very, very liberal.
Yeah.
And they will do whatever they need to do to get their beliefs across, right? And her moon is there. So the way she thinks is in the first house. So she's having an emotional breakdown right now. Why? Because of this Venus and K2 in the second. So there is some conservativeness, I think, deep down inside that what she values. And this is also her voice. Her second house is singing. What's Scorpio? Scorpio is the deep, dark secrets, deep, dark. It's like, and then you got K2 there. That's going to make you different, rebellious. Why she sings I Kissed a Girl. Because K2 and Venus sometimes, I have seen, sometimes when you have K2 and Venus conjunct, it can make somebody bisexual, or they like women, or they've messed with women because they try it all with Venus. They're confused about the sexuality. And that's not every time. Don't get me wrong. It's not every time. But because I've had people say, Heidi, are you a lesbian? Because I have K2 and Mars in my first house. And I'm like, absolutely not. That's probably, my life would be a lot easier if I was.
Yeah, I feel like you would,
right?
man.
Yeah, right? But I have K2 Mars. So mine's more about like, I'm just more of a masculine person, you know? So when you're K2 Venus, you tend to be more like, that can make you fixed on women, maybe, might not be, but it also makes her sing about kissing. Listen, she's singing about kissing girls,
Right.
right? So, and that's all, like I know my friend Lola, she's certainly not, you know what I mean? And this is different. So it really just depends on a chart. And, so she's I actually feel really sorry for her because I'm not saying she's a saint or by all means, but I have a different perspective of her when I see this because she's confused as hell. And
she's severely confused. And also what's happening here is we're watching a contrived, orchestrated unraveling of yet another starlet. You know, it remains to be seen whether or not she was chosen because of her stars or if her stars were designed that way to bring her. I get the sense that her father and her mother, that they that all of this was planned and that Katy Perry was chosen. She was kind of in line for this, if you will. I really don't know how else to put it. But I think that she did naturally and does naturally possess all of these inherent qualities and traits. But and it's hard for me to feel sorry for her because in so many ways, and I've heard her say it before, years ago, before this all really happened and she like spiraled out of control, like what we're seeing now. Years ago, she used to joke about, she wishes she was invited into the Illuminati club. She's like, I see all that shit and I wish they would invite me in. So she really did ask for it. She didn't have, you know what I mean? There are people in Hollywood, and you probably don't see nearly as much of them. There are some good people in that world. And not everybody is, you know, risen to that level of stardom. It's all very contrived. And, you know, we can get into it. MK Ultra is kind of my area that I am very, very passionate about. And it happens to involve so many other aspects of society. So it really is just, you know.
I mean, do you want to talk about it a little bit so people understand what it is?
I think that people basically understand.
Okay, just maybe drop a couple hints because I like to hear. I know what it is. The government, everybody's controlling our thoughts and everything. But you know, there's these groups and these societies that everybody's part of that, you know, I'm kind of trying to learn about. So maybe for me,
Right.
I know some of the terms, but I don't know them to the 100%. So,
there's all different kinds of programming when we're talking about MK Ultra, but namely with Katy Perry, we are talking about monarch, you know, mind control. As a matter of fact, the term monarch, Project Monarch, that's actually what they agreed to let the public use as a term. It's not actually called Project Monarch. There are other names for it. They, you know what I mean? Kind of like, there's a lot of projects that have names because they knew that this information would become declassified, and that people were gonna, you know, why do so many people know about Project Monarch now? It's like all over there. Because they're releasing a lot of truth, but they're still very secretive about it. It's all very compartmentalized. And in the case of Katy Perry, what we're seeing is, honestly, I think it's a publicity stunt. She had a live feed of her life getting, you know, therapy, and she's just going about her life, called Witness. Her new album is called Witness. And this is, you know, for me, that evokes the whole notion of being watched, of being surveilled. And she is allowing this. I think that she genuinely is having a breakdown, and that she's being exploited. But it's hard for me. I have empathy for her, but I don't have sympathy.
That's a good word, because and when you say that, I would say the same thing, because you know, you do kind of sign up for something, and you can, like, and you now, and all those planets in Libra, I mean, I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw that girl. I mean, she would be somebody that I could never trust. But you know, but when you look at, sometimes I try to not, I mean, that's somebody for me. But, you know, I do have people that I talk to that I feel like I help, that, you know, they wouldn't necessarily be my best friends. But you know, I look at it like everybody should have a chance to at least, you know, maybe try to straighten up a little bit. Yeah. But what really is, when you are controlled, okay, because this is a great example. I'd watched this thing on HBO, and I don't know if you've heard about this, but this girl named Gypsy and her mother. Have you heard about this story? Everybody needs to Google this, because I'm going to do a show on them. So this mother, her name was, I don't even remember the mother's name, but she brought her little girl up and daughter up as a baby, making her think she was handicapped, that she had cancer. It was all publicity stunts to get money to pay for medical bills. It was sick. Well, anyway, she ended up figuring it out a little bit that she could walk. Her mom took her to all these hospitals. Like, it is the craziest story. And then she found this guy online, dated him, met him one time. I mean, she has the mindset, she thought she was like, you know, she didn't even know how old she was.
Right.
And she always thought she had cancer and all this stuff. And she meets this guy. She falls in love, but whatever she thinks is love, Disney fairy tales, right? And then they kill her, the mother. Okay, this is like true story. This is crazy. They killed the mother, stabbed her. Now she's in prison. You have to see this. I mean, it's like FBI cases too. It's nuts.
It gives me such yucky feeling.
I know, but it was sad. I was bawling my eyes out, because think about that girl. She's lived her life in a prison, right?
Yeah.
And then she snaps, right? But gets the guy to kill her mother.
Yeah.
And now she's in prison. Like,
right.
But she was controlled the entire time. So moral of the story is, it's like, once you are warped to a certain degree, yes, you come out, not everybody comes out okay, you know, because to what degree? This girl, she was handicapped, for God's sakes.
There is no, once you're subjected to a certain level of the trauma and the programming and the brainwashing, it doesn't matter how much therapy you have or deprogramming that you go through, you're fragmented, you're traumatized, you're scarred. And that doesn't mean that you're broken, but it's like, you know, we can almost see these patterns. It's almost like it's a cycle, and it keeps happening. We saw it with Britney Spears. We're seeing it with Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus is another one. She did the same haircut. Her and Katy Perry. There's actually a bunch of women right now. It's interesting if you look at it. There are women similar in age in Hollywood. They're all very, you know, in the public eye. We're talking about Scarlett Johansson, you know, Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus. There's a bunch of others that have like recently kind of masculinated themselves. And it kind of plays in a lot with this theme that we're seeing right now with the social justice warriors and you know, this whole thing about, you know, equality and LGTB and all that stuff. And I'm all for the gay community. I'm not homophobic in any way. Obviously, anybody that knows me knows that. But there is something to be said about the agenda being pushed. Katy Perry recently went on SNL. and it was like the worst rated SNL show ever. Her and The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, performed on SNL. The Rock's skit, it was a skit where everybody was talking about who could be the most evil genius, and they were holding like a meeting. It's a skit, it's a comedy skit, right? It's supposed to be funny. Everybody's holding a meeting at who can be most evil, and then in comes The Rock with a robot that he designed that molests children.
I know.
You saw a child molesting robot. And it was the same episode where Katy Perry performed. And it was terrible.
Whatever.
And look at the people who own SNL, who have owned SNL for all these years, and the people that they've turned out, these comedians, these stars, these people are all tools. And, you know, it's a hub. And what they're trying to do is normalize this agenda of this, you know, free sexuality, whatever, sexual freedom. She's like, it's all about sexual freedom. She had a music video recently called Bon Appetit, where she's glamorizing cannibalism. And in the wake of Pizzagate, it's not even in the wake, we're still in the trenches of Pizzagate. For this woman to come out with a video where she is being chopped up, kneaded like dough, and she's gaining sexual satisfaction from it is disgusting. And it really, it's hard for me to see her as anything other than a compliant soldier for them, not for us, for them. I don't care.
Saturn, Mercury, Sun, Pluto, Moon in all together in the first house. She is. That's her.
We all have a choice. I've been through a lot of stuff too. There's a reason why I'm so passionate about MK Ultra, and we all have a choice. And I'm sick and tired of people saying, "Oh, she's a slave. She's a slave." You know, and listen, I don't know their situations. I don't know what they're up against, but at some point you are accountable for the choices that you make. That video was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. When you feed into it, it's like personally, if that was me, I could tell you I would have broken free. Yeah. And if I would have died, I would have died. Like, yeah. That's me.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you 100%. My father, listen, I was born into a government family. And I've traveled all over. That's, you know, some people know my background, some people don't.
I'm like spilling water all over myself. Sorry, guys.
But, you know, my family has, you know, ties to the Democratic Party, and I lived in D.C., and I was inundated with an enormous and just this crazy amount of programming. I was supposed to be something. I fought it, and I suffered, and I was tormented because I was resilient to it. So don't tell me that you don't have a choice. Don't tell me that anybody's, you know what I mean? If somebody's holding a gun to your head telling you, tell people that it's okay to be sexually free, even if that means exploiting a child, then you're disgusting and you deserve, you know what I mean? Let them kill you then. Let them kill you, because it's not worth betraying humanity, which is essentially what's happening right now, I feel.
It is crazy. And I mean, even not in addition to all of that, I mean, I personally think it's making like this big inner war, you know, between everybody. I mean, and we can take it out on, you know, whoever we want, but it is just ugly out there right now.
Well, and also what's happening is that I've noticed that there are people that are waking up at such a rapid rate because it's the contrast between the lies and the truth is becoming so apparent. But there are still people that are clinging so hopelessly to these illusions, to these lies, that they have now kind of devolved from just, you know, existing to now becoming soldiers for the wrong side, for the dark side. So, you know, people that are still running around, you know, with this, you know, they're just a Hillary supporter. Somebody who is still, that's just my example. I'm not saying that, you know, it's only Hillary supporters, because it's obviously not only Hillary supporters. But that's a fine example. Somebody at this stage in the game, with all of the information that we have available to us, somebody who can stand in front of you and tell you that they're with her after all of this, you're talking to somebody who is already partially dead inside, because you have no excuse. There is no excuse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get really passionate about this stuff. And if I sound like I'm yelling to any of like your listeners and stuff, I apologize.
No, I'm always yelling. I feel like that's me all the time. And that's the thing about us. We are passionate people. Like, you and I have good intentions and we want the right thing to happen for everybody. So, I think you and I can pretty much handle anything. I mean, in front of our face, dealing with it, we're not judgmental.
No.
We're judgmental when we need to be. Like,
right. We know the difference between
called out.
Yeah. There's a line, okay? There's a line, and it really is to each his own. How you want to live your life is fine, but there is a line, and a line is being drawn in the sand. There are people that are knowingly and unknowingly supporting and facilitating people to continue the cycle. You know what I mean? And the rest of us are over here like, you guys don't see what's happening. And so there is a line. It's like everybody kind of needs to go, internalize what is going to be acceptable to them in their reality moving forward. Because I also feel like from here on out, it's unwritten. I feel like what we're entering right now is a point in time space right now where things are really being ripped apart at the seams. And I feel like everything up until this point was more or less scripted. Planned, coordinated, orchestrated, and that we're where we are right now, it's unwritten. I really truly feel in my bones that the scripts have all been thrown out.
I got chills big time.
Yeah, the scripts have been thrown out, and it is on humanity now. It's on us now. And I predict I feel a lot coming within the next 2 months, but I feel we're going to see it really play out in whole over the next 3 to 6. But the next 2 months, there's a lot of fire. I can feel it. It feels like you're looking out into the ocean, and you can, when you can feel the electricity in the air, there's a storm. And I feel like that's what's happening.
That's your moon nakshatra. Go ahead.
What's that?
That's one of your gifts. Like, your moon nakshatra can feel a storm.
Yeah.
And, you have that gift, just so you know, that when you feel that chaotic turbulence, because you'll feel the destruction. You're not going to feel like you're going to have the intuition of the destruction, Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's an anxious feeling because it's going to be hard. Like, it's not what's coming. Hard times ahead, folks. Hard times ahead. But don't give into fear is what I'm saying. But I think what we're going to see is a huge crumbling, unveiling, but stay steadfast in your belief. You know what I mean?
So what do you think, hypothetically, okay? I mean, what happens when this all comes out, right? And there's a big explosion.
Yes. There is something called, and the term keeps repeating in my mind over and over for the past 3 months, is the dead man switch, trip switch. When the lights go.
Like that game that people play. What is it called? They're training people already. When you play the dummy game, when everybody has
it's interesting that you say that, because all of these things that we're seeing, I feel like several blackouts, several even Hurricane Katrina, for example, we know that was a modification, that was a genetically engineered storm. What they've been doing is they've been running drills, small scale, and they serve many purposes, these drills. And what they're doing is they're testing us to see what we would do in the event of a collapse. And I foresee that on top of it being, I feel that it's going to be mainly economical, but obviously that will trickle down into everything. But what this is primarily is spiritual. The economic collapse will force each and every person to internalize. There's no avoiding it. Everybody is going to be faced with the reality of who they are and what they've been hiding. What's happening right now, and I say this a lot, and I say this to everybody that I talk to, because I just feel like it has to, that's how I can help facilitate, is just to kind of get the message out, is that what we're experiencing right now has never happened on any planet, in any realm, anywhere, ever. And everybody's watching right now. This has actually happened before, but this has happened before. We've already, and I feel like we've already won. But what's happening right now is that the 3D human being, all of us here, are being tricked into choosing of our own mind, our own consent, because that's the only thing they have on us, is tricking us into consenting. They're going to trick us via Project Bluebeam, the economic collapse, civil war. They're going to trick us into choosing and assimilating the timeline that they want us to go to. And when I say that things are unscripted now, and that it's up to us, is that we have the ability to come together and choose. And I know that you've noticed recently, people are aligning. People are coming together. People are finding each other now. And it's been years and years, and we're coming together. We're forming our groups. We're forming trust and bonds with people so that we may move, we may transition. And it's not going to be painless. It's not going to be quick and easy, but we're here and it's happening. Does this like do you feel what I'm saying? Like,
I keep getting, every time you say that word, unwritten, I get, or unscripted or unwritten, I get absurd chills, and I don't know why. Like, it just goes down my back, and it's like, whew, it's so weird. And I get it. Like, I believe you totally. You know, I think from a realistic, like, because, you know, you're more spiritual, I'm more realistic. Like, I like one fact.
It's true, but that's why we get along so well.
I know, right? Because we can't fight. There's nothing to argue about here.
You're the logical one, I'm the dreamer, and we meet in the middle, and it's perfect.
Right. So, and, you know, you wonder about, like, this is me. You know, recently I've had people contact me with a lot of, I think I sent you a couple of messages of my concerns, which that people have messaged me and like, this is happening, and people are like freaking out, big scale, and like feeling like they're
losing it.
Yeah, on a mentally a mess. And then, you know, they call you or they say something to you, like I've been threatened, said I was in trouble, right? Like multiple times. And, you know, here's the thing. First of all, like, I'm somebody, until I see an alien, okay, that tells me that something's going to happen, I'll believe it. Like, I believe in aliens and I believe something can happen for sure. But until somebody like that's an alien tells me something, then I'll do it, right? That's kind of, or I have scientific proof or astrology proof where it's in the sky. And even that, you're still like, we'll see, you know?
It would be interesting for you to do kind of look into the stars over the next the next 2 months just is like, well, it just like, I feel like
I have, and I've made a lot of statements on many shows that I've done on all over any show that the next 2 months, starting June, July, and I didn't even go into August and September when the eclipse flies through the United States of America. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, literally they say, but just so everybody knows, it's going to make in the midday go dark.
Yeah.
So
I love it, because I'm just going to sit back and like, I don't want bad things to happen, but for me and other people like myself, and for you too, most likely, is we've spent years aware of an entire alternate reality. It's not really alternate. It could be argued that what we actually have experienced here is the artificial part, and what we have been attuned with for so many years is actually the real, you know, the reality. It's the matrix. We're living in the matrix. And so for me, I feel like I welcome changes like that. I feel like we're up to the challenge. If we weren't having this conversation. You know,
it's really funny when you talk about this kind of stuff. When I was a young kid, I used to sit there and think about what happens when you die. Okay. And, you know, you get on that like thought when you can literally picture, you start thinking about when you're dying, what's going to happen, what you're going to be thinking. You get into this weird zone, right?
Yeah.
And I used to get into this weird zone and just, I felt though like I was watching things. Like, it was weird because what I saw was, and this is when I really, because when back then I didn't know what the hell it was. This is when I was like, oh my God, I got to figure this out. Really, I had like visions of this, and it was not what I thought. It's not where, what I expected. It was it was darker for sure, but not like you're going to hell. No. Right. But it was just like, I'm looking at something, judging things, and it was like I was in another dimension, I guess you could say, because I can't even really, the words really aren't going to come out right. But and then I got into I was obsessed. So where do I go? To the Bible by choice. I was, that was me. It was like, that has to be right.
Right.
Then I was reading Revelations one day, and I was reading the Quran, and I didn't even know I was reading the Quran. So that was a big eye opener for me.
Right.
And that's when I had an aha moment that, like, what I believe is in space, right? Or whatever, like stars. I believe in God, but I believe in the planets, and I believe in that there's a God, and I believe in the messages in astrology, or this kind of stuff, tarot, whatever, however you connect. There's no base religion that's right.
Right. Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, Christianity, Catholicism, Islam, I believe those are known as the Abrahamic religions. Those are primarily from conception and by design, those were designed to be the primary controlling factors of the planet, religion, the dogma, all of that. I mean, it really doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out.
But can I tell you where they got all that information from? And this is one thing that I know. The Rig Veda.
Yes.
So
yeah.
What they say, and this is funny because even Rex says that the Sumerian texts are the oldest texts, and I'm like, no, they're not. And I can tell you that they're the oldest man-made, translated, maybe. But guess what? What happened, like what I am under the assumption of and what I believe is true. And if you notice anything about the Indian culture, they don't go around like, oh, you need to be Hindu, right? No. They're like, you won't understand it. That's what they
exactly. Like, stick to what you know. Right.
Right? So the Rig Veda. Now there's multiple branches in a way of the Rig Veda. So there's the Gita, there's the Upan, whatever. I can't even say the words. I'm not even going to attempt. But there's these branches, and the Rig Veda was stolen, right? So many years ago, was stolen. Britain colonized India, right?
Right.
And stole all these secret things, and
they changed it,
and they used the secret knowledge. And that's what they use. And that's what they use for everything, which is why I follow the sidereal nakshatras, like sidereal zodiac. Indians made the numeric system they made the numbers, invented the numeric system. Right. Everything is run on numbers.
Right.
Everything.
Yes.
And if there's one thing that I'm passionate about, mine is that. It's like, it's so funny, but I feel that way. And they don't, and Indians aren't arrogant. You notice when you believe something and truly believe something, you don't need to explain it to everybody.
Right. You don't have to shove it down everybody's throat. Right. Yes. You're just
people that are religious and scared shitless, like I used to be. The ones that are like preaching the Bible a lot, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I am a Christian. I call myself a Christian still, but I also call it Heidiism, right? Because it's like
right. Exactly.
I mean, quite honestly, I believe in a little bit of everything. I mean, I believe a lot. I really am into the Hindu religion. I think makes the most sense.
Yes.
Complex karma, so I don't know. It's interesting to me, and there's 1 billion people in India.
Yeah.
There's not even 1 billion people in Texas, New Mexico, and California.
Right.
Think about that. It's like, okay, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's just control. They love to take sacred knowledge and do what they want to do to it, skew it to have it fit their agenda, which is what they do with people like Katy Perry. And Megyn Kelly is an interesting one. I have to tell you this really kind of funny, interesting, stranger things have happened theory that I stumbled across. But does everybody remember the O.J. Simpson trial when he killed his wife? Nicole. Mm-hmm. Listen, now this is weird. This is really kind of tinfoil hat, but we know that the truth really is stranger than fiction. So I don't just automatically dismiss something because it sounds so crazy. I don't automatically believe it, but I will go through everything and scan everything and kind of get what fits. And what's interesting about this is we know that they love to confuse us. They love to rub things in our faces. For example, they think that a lot of the women that are super famous and are sex icons were actually born men, because they love the concept of reversals. They want to feminize the man on a large scale. That's one of the ways that they keep the world out of balance, is by desecrating the sacred feminine and effeminating the masculine, which is part of the agenda why men these days are so much more feminine than they used to be, and so in so many ways. But they love these concepts of reversals, and so that's why they want all the men to be attracted to women that were actually once men. It's a mind-bending game.
Why do you think that? Like, why would they want that?
Because it is it messes with the mind. Energetically speaking, they love the concept of up is down and down is up, and confusion. It's part of it. I don't know. And Megyn Kelly,
I'm pulling up her birth dates. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
O.J. Simpson is now in jail. Everybody is familiar with the trial. And there is a theory floating around that Nicole, that the whole thing was a hoax. It was a publicity stunt. And that everybody involved was an actor. That resonates with me, because I know that this whole thing is just a freaking play anyways, and everybody is an actor. Megyn Kelly apparently
was Nicole Simpson.
Nicole Simpson, and she got plastic surgery. You look at the faces next to each other, it's ridiculous, and I got chills, and I was like, you know what? They would do that. They would do that to us.
Where did you hear that?
Somebody sent it to me, and I thought it was ridiculous. And then I looked it up. I really kind of like dug into it, and I was like, you know what? This really does make sense, because if you look at what's happening right now, why on earth was Megyn Kelly chosen to interview Vladimir Putin recently? And she also interviewed James Alefantis, the owner of Comet Ping Pong, Comet Pizza, one of the central characters of Pizzagate. She interviewed him, and the entire interview was horrible, because she was like, oh, I'm so sorry this happened to you. All of the questions were obviously extremely scripted and loaded to paint a picture of his innocence, and that he was the victim of a conspiracy theory. And so she is very key to them. So it doesn't shock me at all that she was an actress playing Nicole Simpson, that whole thing was a psyop, because let's look at who was connected to the O.J. Simpson trial. The Kardashians. The Kardashian was O.J. Simpson's lawyer. He died. And now we look at the Kardashians, and the Kardashians it's argued that they're definitely also MK Ultra, but they have a very specific role also. So they keep these circles very tightly knit. Yeah. So that's one that I happen to believe. That's a weird theory that I think holds weight, especially considering the whole Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly debacle, which I said on my Facebook. It reeks to me of a backroom reptilian sex party. I think they're all disgusting, and they're all sleeping together, and I hate the two of them together.
Wait, you think Alex Jones is part of it too?
Yeah, I do.
So would you think that means David Icke is?
Most likely, yeah. I mean, and it's weird, because I'm not calling them liars. I happen to like Alex Jones, and I catch a lot of heat for that. But I
like him too. I think he's,
and you know what? I'm not saying that it's weird, because I feel like they're teeter-tottering in between this, but I still feel like it's all orchestrated, because from my understanding, the people that really, really get truth out there end up dead. So why, Freya, get down. Okay. Come here, girl.
Let me see her. So that's you big Rottweiler, right?
No, relax. She piped up. Say hi. Hi, baby.
Hi, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so the dog I see you having too. Oh, look at the pretty baby. What's her name?
Freya.
Rhea.
Oh, I'm rolling away after the Viking goddess of love.
Oh, she's so cute. Rottweilers are so sweet.
She's a good girl. Okay, was
with
it.
a bathing suit on. So here, that's funny you say that though, because yes, I believe you. Look, that's in the realm, I believe, okay? But I'm gonna tell you, I don't think I hope to God, like,
Yeah.
why would they even try to get everybody so ramped up about this? Think about this. Like, I think this is maybe where your off script thing comes in, almost like
Oh yeah.
Alex Jones came in here and threw up with some scenes. He called people out, busted people out, and now that people are waking up, they're like, we can't even control these people. Like, they're like, we can't even stop them. Because
I think that you're right. I really do think that you're right. And when I look at Alex Jones, I think my biggest issue with him is that when it's really time to name names and get down to the nitty gritty, like he apologized publicly for Pizzagate and I understand it was all legal and I think things got really real for him, but
I'm going to tell you what I think. I think Megyn Kelly secretly likes Donald Trump, and she's not allowed to be. That's what I think, because her K2 is in MAGA,
I think she's not human. I look at her and I see an insectoid AI, a manifestation. She's put together with bolts and pieces, and I think she's a shell of a person. I see absolutely nothing there. For her to sit across from James Alefantis in her room, in her interview room, and for her to assume for 1 second that this woman does an ounce of her homework and an ounce of research, if she really looked into the circumstantial evidence that we've got about Pizzagate and Pedogate, she would know that she was sitting across the table from an evil, cannibal, baby raping, horror, like just this disgusting, the most disgusting dreg of society. And she sat there and she apologized for him. She came to his aid. She made the world, in front of the world, she said, I'm sorry this happened to you, that you've been a victim of conspiracy theories. She is a complete tool. If I ever saw her, I would probably run her into the ground.
See, and first of all,
with my fist, not with my car or anything like that.
I think the thing about, like, you're good because you know all these stories. Well, I don't watch TV.
I don't watch TV either, dude.
And
people
like,
send me stuff.
I know you get your, like, I hate, if I had, like, now I do look at these people, right? But before that, I just wanted to help people. Like, I don't give a shit about doing celebrities charts, quite honestly. And I don't really care, because I just watched my news channel, which who knows, now I'm getting all nervous about this one. That was One American News Network. The guy said, the one guy that I watch all the time, he's like, I don't even have my right time of birth out there, or my right birthday out there. So I'm like, so think about this. You think all these people's birthdays are even accurate? Probably not. No. They're not right. No. So I was looking up Alex Jones, actually his court case searches today. Yeah, because he was divorced. So I know if he was divorced, there's public knowledge, so it's going to be on there somewhere. This is how my mind works. I didn't find it, but I couldn't find anything. What if that's not even his real name,
Oh, and I bet that it's not. And that's why I hold reservations about anybody that's given that platform. InfoWars is a huge organization. They're with Time Warner. They're with Time Warner Cable. And listen, I think what happened recently, and which is the only reason why I entertain Alex Jones at all, is I think because something happened very recently where now some of these guys that before might not have had the freedom or the support, the time wasn't right. It could be that the time is right now. The coast is clear because the resistance is not alone in this. We have a lot of backing, energetic backing. Maybe now something can be birthed from this, but I almost don't see Alex Jones as being the future of media, because I know that was the whole debacle is this war between old media and new media, and I just think that the whole thing is going to change so drastically very soon.
It's going to shake up. Like, I'm feeling that, and once again, here come my chills. I'm feeling that something is about to pop. Like, and people are going to say, "Oh my God, you have got to be kidding me." And it's going to be so loud and it's going to be so crazy that not even the person that doesn't want to hear it isn't going to be able to, like, not turn on the news. Like, it's going to be, holy shit.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't.
and it's really
Wow.
funny. It's really, really funny because I have this image in my head that's been, and I was just talking about it with somebody this morning. This image in my head keeps coming up, and it's actually of grilled cheese. So, well, because there's actually two images that come. One is a landscape, but that's really hard to describe. So the grilled cheese is what I'm going to use to describe what I think is happening. So the grilled cheese, look at, a really well-made grilled cheese, when you cut it and then pull it, the cheese will go really far. And I know, please bear with me. This is how I do my readings too, is like, I'll get an image and it means something.
That's though. It
Yeah.
does. That's omens. Like that's, and not the omen or anything.
No. But no, it's all
thing.
very symbolic. But a really well-made grilled cheese, when you separate it, those strings, they start as bigger globs, and then the further you pull it away, the thinner and thinner it gets. And how I see humanity, what's happening right now is that we're being pulled apart. And at first, we're all together. We're all clumped together. Our consciousness is entangled with everybody else's. We're picking up everybody's fear and anxiety, and there's a lot of weight. There's a lot of congestion. And as we move through this, the strings, the lines in which we're all walking will start to thin out, so thin to a point where it will literally go from 5 people, 4 people, 3 people, 2 people, 1 person. Each individual person is going to go through a spiritual culling period where they will not be able to hide from themselves, and they will be faced with a choice. I don't know what choice that will be. I imagine it's, trust yourself over anything else that's happening around you, whatever it is, that's up to the individual. But that's what I see happening, is that everybody is going to be subjected to a kind of proving ground. And we are all going to find ourselves more and more honed in internally. It will go from being an external battlefield problem survival to, scale it down. It will be on a micro level. This will be a spiritual culling. You know what I mean? Above all things. And what we experience externally in terms of a collapse and war and violence, all of that is an external, these are external constructs designed very specifically for the purpose of confusing us at this point in time right now. Their fear that they have over us is their biggest weapon. So over the next 3 to 6 months, there's something about the next 2 months, Heidi. It's hard. If I think about it too much, I get really kind of tired, but.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm going to say, I feel like this, because you have to be aware. Why? You just do. Yeah. And I feel like, I'm sure you feel the same way. If you didn't say, something could happen, everybody needs to just calm down, relax. And I try to look at it like, here's the deal. Things are going to get shaken up. So what do I want to scare people? Do I want to live my life being scared? Yeah. No, absolutely not. So this is what you do, because it's going to affect everybody in a way. And nobody even understands this either, but it's in your chart. Like, for instance, and when everybody gets crazy, when there's a big shift in energy, everybody's feeling it. So then there's fights, there's killings, there's accidents, there's overdoses, because nobody knows what's going on. Right. When you are aware of astrology and you are aware of these patterns, whether they're controlled or not, who the hell knows? Like, once again, I believe that it probably some is. The opioid thing, I think that's a big freaking disaster, and I think that's man-made for sure. And there's so many things. But I know there are people that do take pain medicine because do have problems, So it's like, it's just once they figure out a way to, turn people screwed up, whatever, and then one person does it and everybody's doing it. I watched a YouTube today, a girl literally shot her, they were overdosing. She went in her back seat and got that drug and zapped her with it. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is just, so people are losing it, okay? People are seeing things, people are like, and they're trying to scare people, I think, and they're trying to freak people out. Point is, all you can do is be aware and make the best of the situation. Absolutely. So when somebody's freaking out, the best thing to do is just be like, oh, they're going through a rough transit, right? Because that's the way you got to do it. Even I look at the David Icke's, the Alex Jones, I feel bad for them now. Like, I couldn't even imagine dealing, even if they signed up for it, they're still putting themselves in a big debate. Like, so I look at, like, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because that's just, I don't usually do that with most
people. Good of you, though.
But I don't do that with anybody. I don't trust anybody. Okay, keep this in mind. So I'm not saying I'm all gung-ho, rah, but I think, like, I just don't think somebody would do that. But maybe they would. But I'm always that maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they are under a lot of fire, right? So we'll see. Right. And they're just out of control right now with what they're saying. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, and this is when you say that unscripted, because I think, like, now that the Alex Jones, the David Ickes, the people that are actually posting all these things, like the shootings, you know, that all the shootings and a lot of the shootings are tests, you know? And let me just say, I didn't believe that either at first. I got into a fight with my neighbor. I was like, there's no way that's so effed up. I was like, there's no way they would do that. And then I started researching it, and I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. Why am I so blind, right? And I'm not saying that 100%. I'm just saying it's probably a little controlled or fixed or altered. Yes, probably.
Yeah, it is. It is. And when you were talking about David Icke and Alex Jones and people like that, people that, well, they're different, but kind of when you mentioned David Icke, I had this interesting visual of him kind of being, so he has the one shell, the one David Icke person, but I feel like he has what are known as walk-ins that he has experienced several times throughout his life. A lot of people experience walk-ins. And I don't know, that just kind of came up.
What's a walk-in? Like,
well, a walk-in, so a person is a vessel, a human being is a vessel. And certain people throughout certain periods of their life will experience what's known as a walk-in, which is either a version of that person from an alternate timeline, which could be a completely different version of themselves, or they could also open themselves up for another entity to come through and kind of animate that shell and do work on the human plane in the physical realm via that vessel, you know. So a lot of people that happens to a lot of people, and I feel like people like Alex Jones, for example, might have been at some point in his life very controlled because he was kind of groomed for that position. But he may have, and I'm not saying that he has because I don't know and I don't trust him, but I'm just kind of using him as an example. People that were controlled before might have kind of wrestled the reins away from whatever they were battling before, and they might really be trying to help. But the only thing I would say to anybody who's listening is to always trust your own inner knowing over anybody else's, over mine, over Heidi's, you know what I mean, over anything that you see. You know, the external world is really only there to test you, to test it, you know, your own ability to discern and to wade through it. And one more thing I wanted to say was, you were talking about, you know, astrology, and when you're aware of astrology, when you start to see these patterns, that is why the elite have hoarded and tried to keep these secrets for themselves for so long, because they don't want us to know. These are tools for us, the common person. You know what I mean?
And why the hell do you think they busted out with the saying? Like, right. I don't believe NASA, so like, why?
No.
You know?
Oh God,
like,
NASA.
I don't know. There's some things I'm 100% gonna say that I go by. I mean, the Indian way never fails.
Right.
Never. Right. I have never done a chart. I've done so many readings for so many people, and unless I didn't have their time, I've never had somebody say, "That's not me." Right. You know, that's not me.
No, there's definitely something to it. They hoard the knowledge. They hoard it for themselves. You know, JP Morgan said millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. So,
and then they make people scared of it. Yes. You think it's a satanic.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like, people just open your eyes. I mean, like, Google this. Like, just Google. It's so easy. Yeah. And just
Google is severely controlled.
Right. But it is. But there's a lot of shit out there that you can find It will make you question everything that we can, like for this. You Google this pops up, right?
Yeah.
Now we'll see if our voices are altered one day, or if this goes away.
Right.
All of a sudden, have a new name or something.
Right. Who knows?
Right? But no, I mean, I might, because I might change my name back to my maiden name. But
oh, really?
yeah, maybe we'll see. It's just such a pain.
I like the indeterminate.
I do too, but numerology, I think it's better the other way.
Oh, nice. And it's like, like a rebirth of sorts.
Yeah, I guess. But it's just such a pain. Like I already have so many things going on. The last thing I need to go deal with that, and then deal with switching all credit cards over, all things. It's.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. And who knows what things are gonna look like?
Yeah.
Be open. Be open. Go with the flow. That's the only thing I'm trying to tell people. I'm not trying to spread fear or anything like that. That's the total opposite of what I'm getting at. And it's not a fearful thing, although it is extremely emotional. And this is the precipice. This is kind of like a culmination of everything that we have gone through and as human beings incarnating on this planet for just, it's there. You can't put a time on how long we've been doing this and kind of coming to this point. And what we are in for is something that will test the spiritual and emotional fortitude, the spiritual faculties of every man, woman, and child on the planet. And kind of the ugliest parts of humankind are being raised up. And that's why everybody that I talk to also, and you said the same thing, everybody's experiencing this sort of purging. Things are coming out that we thought we dealt with, we thought we forgot. Now all of a sudden everything's coming out, and it's very painful, and it brings up a lot. Another thing is that people are starting to remember memories that they're like, where's this coming from? And that's something that has to do with timelines and the timelines being changed.
I have to say one thing though, because when we say this and we talk about this stuff, this is the way my brain travels. And I just think, can you imagine living in Syria right now? Like, can you imagine? Like, we could have had it. So we're sitting here bitching about our government's flipping out, and everybody's going through, oh, Trump's this, and oh, Hillary that, and oh, we're rioting over this crazy shit that nobody even knows what the hell's going on.
Right.
And think about it. We could be living in Haiti.
I know. Syria, oh, yeah.
And being controlled. Talk about being controlled. Just worry about walking outside and getting your head blown off. I mean, come on. And, that's how I like to look at things like on a global scale, because I think what happens when you're brought up in the United States, you luckily have got to travel, and you went to school abroad and all that stuff. Me personally, I never really had any desire to at all. I felt safe here.
Right.
The only place I wanted to go to is India, and I've gone to islands, Mexico. But here's the thing, I don't know if I can handle it, because if I go there, I know I'm probably not coming back. Why? Because I'm going to get so upset. I'm going to have to I'm going to try to fix everything, which I know that's not the case. And that's why I really struggle with, so I'm, that's my problem too, is in a way I don't want to deal with it,
Right.
And I think that that's sometimes the problem, So I just like to say, just when we do get all worked up about like, oh, the aliens are coming and the reptilian whatever, and the government's going to kill us, and Donald Trump's the devil, or whatever you want to say, which is I think Donald Trump is not the devil. Let me just reiterate. Everybody knows how much I like Donald Trump. But, when everybody gets on these bandwagons, like, think about how much worse it could be.
Yes. And I think about that all the time. We really are kind of in a bubble over here in the U.S. But in so many ways that, the American people have so much potential power to enact change and help. But that's why our programming is so much stronger than a lot of other countries. Everybody here has all the kids have devices. Like, it's just insane. America is the land of the enslaved. And because we have so much that we could direct to enact change.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so weird.
What?
Did you hear that?
No.
There's like the strangest like beeping sound in my kitchen. Like it was it was just really weird. That's so weird. Oh my gosh.
I mean, does that surprise me? No, because
No, it doesn't surprise me.
around
All kinds of weird stuff.
who knows what the hell that is? But I think you're right. And when I look at everything and I start talking, like I read somebody, it's funny you say that because I read somebody's chart from India completely different than I do somebody's from United States.
Yeah.
Right? Because in a way, and I picked this up from reading charts because we're raised different. And you could say controlled, but like somebody that has 4 planets, 5 planets in a house and somebody from India's chart, they're probably just a doctor, right? When you got that here, it's like a serial killer,
Right.
Or like, so, and I'll never forget. I watched this thing, Mother India, just bawling my eyes out.
Oh.
Kids were ripping their arms off, throwing them under trains so they could get rupees to beg. But they all came home as a pack, like with their wolf pack kids. They were all homeless and they were happy. They loved each other. Not saying that's where I'd want to be or want my kids to be if I had kids, but I just looked at that and I'm like, we are so, like, not that that's good by all means. But they have an essence of happiness.
Yeah.
That I never had.
Right.
Never. And Americans are so freaking miserable. A lot of them are. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can say you're happy, but just because you have all the shit in the world, and just because you have all the nice cars, fancy things, guarantee you have a mental breakdown at some point, and then you're like, what the hell is going on here?
More money, more problems.
Family, yeah, my nice happy family, blah blah blah. Think everything's great. Then somebody dies. Then your life's it's like we are so hated over here. Like, and I'm not saying like, oh, I hate Americans either, because you get the crazy people that will say that kind of shit. Like, oh, this girl needs Jesus. No, I don't. I have Jesus.
Right.
I am saved. I got saved 1,000,000 times on a daily basis. I'm good.
Right.
I'm not worried about that. But I used to. When I was like a heavily practicing Christian, I was scared to go to hell so bad. So bad. Every day I thought I was going to hell. And I did nothing wrong. And then this is like, now I'm like, hit me by a bus. Go ahead. Get hit by a bus. I'm okay with it. I'm going to another place.
Mighty. Yeah. And that's the control thing is that there's this external authority figure that's going to smite you if you lie, cheat, or steal, or have dirty thoughts or masturbate too much. And it's just ridiculous, you know what I mean? But there's so many people that are still so entrained by it. But that, you know what, they're not even for us to worry about, because I feel like that you are in the position that you're in right now. You have this knowledge, you have this network, and you're facilitating change. You're getting pure, information of your own filter, your own brand of information out, your own voice, your own energy. You're in this position by design. I mean, obviously you chose to, but we now find ourselves as Americans, as privileged people, privileged women, in a position where we can help in our own particular way, in our own brand. And the basis of it is this sacred knowledge, this ancient knowledge that has been, repressed. And for me, it's not so much astrology, because I'm not an astrologist, but for me, it's very much, I follow a lot of ancient ways in terms of my thought process. And it's just something that's in my veins, as
it's your passion. I mean, it is, for sure. I can see it all over your chart. Like that's you. You don't need cards. I mean, you don't need that shit.
Well, right. And for me, the cards and just, for anybody that was thinking about a reading, I have my cards. I use my cards to kind of, work through a reading. And some people want me to use the cards more than my intuition, and vice versa, but I don't really do one without the other. I'm always using my psychic faculties in tandem with any tool that I'm using, whether it's a crystal or a card or anything like that. And a lot of what we do here on our show, even though I'm not giving you a reading, the way that we're taught, we're kind of accessing the same part of the brain that we are when we're working with a client. I mean, I'm speaking for myself.
No, totally.
It's an inspired space. It's an inspired mindset. It's an energy, and it's a synergy, and it really flows because we're aligned with our most authentic higher selves, and the information comes through. And this is how we can help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that, you know, and this is where I have no agenda, like, you know, because I'm in a funny spot with astrology, right? So everybody in astrology, astrologer crew, whatever, you know, they're definitely more not like me. Like, they're not the investigators talking about the darker side. They're just not that, honestly. And that's why I like astrology. So I do have a darker side where I do want to know the bad. I do. I don't want to just give all the raw ha-ha.
No.
But I can tell you, if you get a reading from me, it's probably going to be the most positive reading you ever have, right? So, and sometimes I think that's the problem when everybody, because the spiritual world is awakening, so everybody's getting on. And I think the problem now too, there's even like battles beyond astrologers, right? And Democrats, Republicans, tropical sidereal. It's like, I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Well, that's what they have to do.
And for me, I'm just like, I think I'm more like, the more knowledge, the merrier. Bring the tarot, bring the, you know, hypnosis, do it all. Like,
hypnosis, yeah.
Who knows? I mean, why wouldn't you try it? Why do you think just one thing is right? Why don't you take a little bit from each thing and be like the best? Because that's what I do. That's, right? Yeah.
Listen, we've all got visions, you know what I mean? And so much about the space that we all find ourselves in as a collective, we're in uncharted territory. Uncharted territory. Nobody forced you to ask those questions for yourself. You did that of your own accord because you were driven by a passion, by something higher. And a lot of the theme that I'm seeing is people are going to have to get uncomfortable. You cannot stay in your bubble. You can't look away because it makes you uncomfortable. The time for that is over. It's gone. It's dead. It's done. And everybody is going to have to get uncomfortable or not, or stay, be left behind, because essentially I think the splitting that's taking place, and I know that it's really a lot for people to digest and it's very hard to conceptualize, but I truly feel like timelines are splitting, that we're experiencing a split, and that people that kind of are not wanting to move along and to evolve are going to choose to assimilate to a timeline that the collective of that collective. So they're going to align themselves with the same energy frequency of everybody that is in that same space, that same mentality, everybody that's making that choice. They're going to go where they go, and then everybody that's kind of riding this wave right now, and I know that you can recognize those people because we're finding each other now.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny, like I was talking to this one astrologer that I had on, and a lot of astrologers hate like charts with a ton of planets in like one house, or like hate the sixth house energy. I get all the charts with like a million planets in the 6th, 8th, and 12th house. It cracks me up.
Yeah.
But, and you know, it's so, like, I love those charts. They're my favorite charts. I learned so much from those charts, right?
Right.
And I think the thing is, because I'm so open to everything, and I've dabbled in, like, learned about this, learned about that, learned about this, learned about that, and I've kind of made my own mold, that I can pick these themes out. But Jenny, I think a lot of people do go down a dark hole where they can get so entrapped and enslaved in this. That's one of the problems, though. So me, you know, I know you're going to research it all day long and you're going to talk about this stuff all day long, but you're obsessed with this, right? Just like same with astrology with me.
Yeah.
But you still have a family and you still live on your daily lives.
Right.
I'm seeing people that are like leaving because they think things are happening and they're like losing their minds just trying to figure it out. And it's like, here's the deal.
That's the test.
That's the test. I said, that's the test. That's where you're being tested.
Yeah.
You need to be able to still facilitate a happy, like I don't want to say the word happy, but a balanced, a balanced life, balance that with that and still live a normal life, which is kind of why I like having my real career and doing this. Because if I just did this all day long, who knows, right? It's good that I go out to the normal world, I get the slave Saturn world, and, you know, do that daily job, even though it's not, I love doing this way more, but it keeps me like in a nice balanced way.
And what that does is it provides you the opportunity to see the stark contrast between the Saturn world,
right,
and everything else that you experience. You know, that farm.
And it's funny, just like you have kids, right? And that's your focus too. When you're not, I don't have kids, so like if I had kids, I wouldn't be doing this, and you know,
right.
And
you gotta choose.
You gotta choose, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's funny because that's why you know, your balance is your children.
Right. My
And
family.
that's another thing, like in your family and your husband, you know, like that's going to be your thing. And you just see people that are just lost, where they either lose control out of reality and they're searching for shit so hard that they can't find any, like they decide to like escape reality.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is like
sad.
A few years ago, I had this horrible, like I think I was like 23 or 24, and I really thought that we were going to see tanks rolling down the street. I really got stuck in. It was like a week there where I was really, really scared that like of the collapse, that it was war. And I remember crying, thinking, how am I going to, you know, get through this? And I was so scared that we were going to like be stuck in some kind of civil war. And then nothing happened. And then
I was like, oh shit, right?
Nothing happened, and I felt really stupid. And then I realized that a lot of people will get hung up on dates. The world's going to end on July 18th or whatever.
That's what a lot of people are doing because they're seeing a lot of numbers.
Right. Well, what's interesting is that July 18th probably is a very significant date. But in any case, oh gosh, do I have something on July? Well, I'll have to look at my calendar, but you know, but I think that phase of like the being so paralyzed by the fear of what's coming, that really is the test. That really is the challenge. And like, I mean, there really is no other way to put it. Just try to calm down.
So just so you know, that's how I felt when Hillary Clinton was going to win. Was going to win. I went through a week of thinking I was going to be in a FEMA camp. Period.
Oh my God.
It was so bad that's why I found Rex, thought the Armageddon was coming, the world was going to end. I reached out, got like 15 astrology readings, all different sources.
That's so funny.
Even some of my friends that are different religions, like I was having them contacting certain priests and stuff. Like it was nuts.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to die and get hit by an asteroid. I had an oh shit bag packed, ready to roll, like with all my essentials, all my expensive facial products. Like that even matters.
I want some expensive facial products.
Wait till I put this is nuts. I put all my valuables in my car, which I still drive around with. I sleep by a fire extinguisher. I know, how stupid, right?
Yeah. Move your valuables out of here.
They're getting moved actually today because I had an epiphany yesterday. But I'm afraid of fire, so I always think I'm gonna that my house is gonna catch on fire. It's one of my things, and
it's probably in your chart.
It is.
That's so funny.
But yeah. So I was in that same zone, and I was thinking all these things, and I was just really, zoned out. And then, literally, next day, Trump wins. It was like weights were off my shoulders.
Yeah.
The world was great. I was like, oh my God, I was the happiest I was in 2 years. That's sick.
That's, it's amazing because I honestly didn't pay any attention to any of it until the October surprise WikiLeaks dump, the Podesta emails, Hillary's server, the whole nine. And then I seriously had it in my mind that because my father worked for the Clinton administration for years, so and I have strange ties to the Clintons. It's very unfortunate. There's part of my background, but I accepted that Hillary Clinton was going to be our next president, and I felt to myself I wasn't going to fight it. this was just what was going to happen. And I'll tell you, my husband woke me up and he showed me on his phone the headline that Donald Trump was our president. And I didn't realize how much I cared until I saw it. And I could have cried because I was like, we came this close. We came so close, and I'd already accepted it. And then the news broke, and I was like,
I did it apparently.
And energetically speaking, and I'm not saying that, he's going to save the world or anything like that. We know better. It's not on one man. It's not. But what I felt energetically speaking, and I trust that above anything, my intuition, was I felt a surge of hope. And I felt like, hold on a second. This was not part of the plan.
Right. I agree.
And when we're talking about the scripts being thrown out the door, this was not part of their plan.
You know why? Every time you say that, I get chills. Into like that's you saying that, but it wasn't the plan. I know that
it wasn't the plan.
There was no plan of Donald Trump winning. They were like, oh, I saw it in their face.
I did too.
They were up there. They were like, what? Like they were up there, like.
They were so deflated.
Yeah, just no, like they didn't even know what to do.
That in itself, you almost can't fake that. So whether or not it was planned or not, it's very compartmentalized, and most of them didn't see that coming, because everything that we're seeing now with the obstruction of justice and the Russian collusion, it's all damage control because the Clinton Foundation's being exposed, the DNC, the Deep State, the Pentagon, the State Department, the CIA, all the intelligence agencies, they're being exposed for the monsters that they are. And so it's on us to help. I mean, for me personally, because I am connected to it through my family and everything like that, and I was probably even supposed to work for them, but I am a dissenter, I'm a divergent or whatever, and I chose something completely different. That's how I feel like I can help, is to kind of, let's look over here, you guys. You know what I mean?
Well, and the scary thing is, me being a Scorpio with K2 in the first house, Pisces moon, and I know who's bad and who's good. Mm-hmm. And I know that without astrology. Why?
Right. Sure.
I sense the snakes.
Yeah.
Okay. I can tell who has the intentions and who doesn't. That's a gift that I've had since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I can look at somebody and know, even if they've done bad things, doesn't matter. I still know their intentions.
Right. Sure. Good people have done bad things.
Exactly. But there is a line that I call like unforgivable in a way, or disgusting.
Yes.
When you're hurting other people or hurting animals or hurting anything else besides yourself, do whatever you want to yourself. Like that's your own problem, Right. But don't hurt others, and even with vocals or voices, and say mean stuff. Like people just constantly are so rude, and there is abuse with words. There is abuse. So I know who has the good intentions and who doesn't. It's a natural gift. Mm-hmm. And I will say that before I even met you, I felt that horrific about the whole entire Clinton Foundation and them. So my God, I just think in my head, if I would have met you prior to that, I don't even know, I would have jumped ship. I might have moved to India.
Yeah. Yeah.
No joke, because if I would have heard that, the whole pedophile stuff, that's one line I don't cross with. That's one.
Oh, well, yeah, that for me,
there's
that's
no
it.
Excuses to do that.
No.
Just like there's no excuses to rape somebody, or and I know some girls put themselves out there in bad ways, but sometimes it's their fault, sometimes it's not. I was a little mysterious, manipulative girl too, just searching for things, so yes. I get it, but like when you intentionally go out and have sex with a child is disgusting.
It's disgusting, and it's such a theme right now because nobody really had any, well, plenty of people had the idea, but what's happening now is we realize how rampant pedophilia is, not just in the elite circles, but regular people in our communities, in our schools. They're the people that run the judicial system. They're teachers, they're principals, they're DCF. They're the people that come in and take the kids, the foster people. Those organizations, all of these people have employed pedophiles, predators, or pedophile apologists in these positions of power so that they can have their gatekeepers. They are watchers of the children. And this is my personal, another one of my hot points is because, MK Ultra and pedophilia are so intertwined. And it's just, you talk about that line, that unforgivable line. And for me, that's it, is if you abuse a child or an animal, I can almost deal with people that have issues with other adults that are antisocial, that have issues.
Right, I agree.
Like, I don't care. I don't care if you're a jerk, whatever.
Not a pure soul. Not a pure soul that has had life, that's not acceptable.
No, it's not. And they're trying to get people like Katy Perry and Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus has a music video where she's literally in a diaper in a crib with a pacifier in her mouth and a bonnet on her head. She's in a crib and she's opening her legs. She's sexualizing the whole infant thing. And it's just disgusting. And Katy Perry also, with the cannibalism and the free sexual freedom thing, they're using them to legitimize pedophilia within the LGBTQ community, because they are the only avenue that pedophiles will latch onto in order to go to the next phase, which is to recognize pedophilia as a normal, acceptable sexual orientation. That is what we're looking at right now. That is their goal. That is their end game. They use people like Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus, and all these people, all these images. The cartoons are ridiculous. Pedophilia is everywhere.
I did not recognize it because I'm selfish. So
if you're not looking for it, they're very good about sneaking it in there. But then once you turn your eyes onto this stuff,
it's everywhere.
Everywhere. And the next thing is the BBC did a piece on it. The New York Times did a piece on it. Pedophilia is a disorder, not a crime. These people need help. They don't need shame. Bullshit. That's bullshit. I'm not saying that that the answer is to shame people, because that doesn't help anything, but we need to identify the root cause of the problem and destroy it. And that really, really is it. It's not it is a disorder, but it's also a crime.
Here's the thing. I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's simple. The fact that everybody's allowing everything to be so open and acceptable and okay, and all this sex stuff is okay. Sex is supposed to be an intimate thing.
I agree. Yes.
Personal, deep. Trust me. That's it.
Yes.
It's not all this crazy stuff. No. This is for barbarics, know? And you can do some weird stuff behind the sheets. Don't get me wrong. It's not but there's a line that when you make it okay for everybody to see, it's on another scale of, I'll never forget when I was young, my mom wouldn't let me watch VH1, not even. And if you watch VH1, then you were like, what this is a joke, right? Like Rod Stewart bouncing around. And my mom was like, you can't watch that.
Oh my God, yeah.
My sister and I would go in my room. This is how funny we were. We would listen to ICP, those rappers.
Oh my God, the clown, the juggalos.
And we would go and we'd hide and we'd listen to it and we'd be like, swear and stuff. And just because that's how kids are, right?
Right.
But the problem is now ICP is mild. ICP is they say some graphic stuff, but my God, they're not showing things. And it's like,
the campaign, it's a campaign. It's a highly funded, very fine-tuned mechanical campaign aimed directly at the sexual and creative faculties of people, primarily young people, to desensitize us so that we have huge issues with intimacy, and we have a skewed perspective of lust and sex and what that means. And this sexual freedom where you're pansexual, where you're literally attracted to everything, whether it's male, female, in between, animal.
That's disgusting.
It's weird. And again, it plays
animals.
Into the concept, right? It's,
kids.
Kids, animals, it's filthy. And what it is a desecration of what should be and is inherently the most creative force in the universe, which is the act of sex, the act of creation. Sex is so powerful that it creates a human. It opens a portal for a soul to come in. That's how serious it is. So it is no wonder that they would put so much, the most energy into desecrating the act of sex and the concept of sexuality, the male and the female, and one more thing, just so that people don't think that I'm being like homophobic or anything like that. In Native American tribes, the transgender people were known as two spirits because they embody both the feminine and masculine spirit within one body. And that was revered as very powerful, extremely powerful, very sacred. And these people were respected. They weren't bullied. And I feel like the reason why we deal with so much violence towards, transgender people is because of the fear and everybody kind of like, it's the agenda to whip this side against that side.
Well, yeah, and because it's so out there, like it's all should be private.
Right, exactly.
Like there's
it's nobody's business. I don't care what you do. Keep it to yourself, right? And don't have anything to do with kids either, because we're going to find out about it. Yeah. I also believe that everything is going to become, in terms of the internet, I feel that what we're looking at coming up very soon is known as open source. And I think that everything about everybody is going to come out. The dark web, I just kind of see this image of like a huge blade cutting through it and everything comes spilling out. And it's
oh God.
And people are not ready for it, and that's why it's going to just shock people. Some people are going to be shocked to death.
A lot of people will kill themselves.
Yeah, some people will be so rocked by the reality of it that they will literally phase out. They will cease to be here because they can't handle it. Their frequency, it's a clash, and they'll just kind of like phase out.
So one, you say that, but I think that people should know, though, everybody has skeletons in their closet.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that everything, in a way, I mean, it
all comes back.
To talk about it or two, like, I mean, I think a lot of people live with all these skeletons, and then they get religious, and they're like, wow, right? Yeah. And that's really what happens.
Pointing fingers, right?
So then they have to shove that down somebody's throat. Look, once you forgive yourself,
right? But who cares?
You make a change, and you make a conscious change to change your ways and your habits. Like for me, I don't date anybody. Like I haven't dated anybody. Why? Because it's destructive for me sometimes, And once I did that and I stopped and I learned about who the hell I really was, that's when I am able to be clear. And now I probably can date somebody.
Right?
But my God, they're going to be screened. They're going to be, don't think they're not going to go through my Heidi checklist, right? Because now I don't have time. Right. So, I just think you should get help. You should try to understand because a lot of this stuff is in people's charts.
Yes.
There's patterns in all the pedophiles' charts.
Oh, yeah.
So whether they come from another planet or it is a gene or it's a star, right? Or who knows?
Well, that and the bloodlines, they do go by the genetic material. It lends itself well to be corrupt, but it's also a systematic form of abuse from generation to generation. They start abusing the children, so it's incestual as well. They abuse the children from a very young age. The Rock said it in SNL. I'm so disgusted with you, Dwayne Johnson. You disgust me. You let a lot of people down. I'm not shocked, but it's disgusting what you said.
What did he say?
Yeah, he said because he invented the child molesting robot.
I didn't watch it, but I saw it.
So he was the most evil genius in the group for this skit on SNL that they did. He comes in his white coat with a child molesting robot. So he won the evil award for being the most evil. And they said, how do you even program a child molesting robot? And you know what this asshole said? He said, well, you just molest it and hope that it continues the cycle. He said this.
I can't believe that that's even on TV.
Because of this is their time. What we're seeing right now with all the, like Katy Perry's videos and SNL and the New York Times and their articles, they know that we know and that we need to make a decision. And they're like, here guys, look, it's totally normal. It's funny. It's fun.
That's the thing. The fact that people even are like, oh, the fact that people are like, oh, they're just joking. No, they're not.
Resist it.
They're not joking.
Right.
That's not a funny joke. No. Just like the jokes aren't funny when you do the mean shit to Donald Trump's family and his head and his kids. Right. It's not funny.
No, it's not funny. Unless you're sick. And people are laughing at the child molesting robot. They're laughing at this stuff because they're compromised. I
can't stand anybody in Hollywood anymore. I never liked them to begin with. My celebrities were like astrologers.
Right.
If a celebrity walked around in front of me, I wouldn't even know who the hell they were.
Right.
I was like, they look familiar. But,
exactly.
That's the problem. People are so obsessed with these celebrities, and it's like they're warped by this. Yes. They're just, and I almost said I don't know what I was going to say. But my friend, but it's just not good. It's not healthy.
Right.
Don't even obsess over that, because why? You're never going to meet them. Just like, don't obsess about the president if you don't like him. You're never going to meet him. He's not going to have dinner with you every night. Like, he's not going to call you and check in, see how you're doing. Did Obama? No.
No. And if you look at the people that host shows like or Entertainment or, any of these people that still, the Voice, there's this one show, and I don't watch it because I don't watch TV, but I stay up. I actually do make time to pay attention to a lot of what the mainstream media is saying.
Yeah, so we have to.
I'll watch Fox News, CNN, MTV, Nickelodeon. I'll watch all of these things a few minutes a week. So Nickelodeon, Nick Jr., Disney. Yeah, the kids. God, it's the worst. Every single Disney show is a group of unsupervised teenagers that are spies employed by the government. And there's always warring factions. Every single show, somebody is a spy, and they live double lives. They're saying it to us. They're telling us. This is part of it. And it's disgusting. And if you look at some of these people like on Entertainment Weekly that are doing these talking about, and Tom Cruise had a toothache yesterday. We're going to hear from him in a second. You know what I mean? Like, these people are dead. These people are they've sold their souls. They're in the system. There's really, you know what I mean? And who's watching this stuff? Who is dedicating their time, their energy into paying attention to what star has a toothache, what twins were born, stuff like that. People need to redirect their energy if they want to. It's your choice. I'm not telling anybody what to do. But if you want to be part of the wave, then you need to make better choices with where you put your energy.
Yes.
And
help people.
Help people.
It's just be respectful. Yeah. I feel like if you just go around, open doors for people, be nice, be polite, live try to help as many people as you can. That's all you really need to do.
Right.
That's what gets you. It's like, don't do anything that's that's like that. I mean, we all make mistakes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect. We're not, you know what I mean? And people are like, oh God, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make the shift because I have, thoughts of vanity or thoughts of jealousy or No,
but that's all wacky. It's like, no, you're going to make the shift if you're not a lunatic.
Exactly.
You're not a monster. Okay.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Spread the message, try to help people, but don't lose your mind over it.
Right.
That's I think our best advice.
Yes.
So we should end it because we've probably
we've got I love it though. This is good. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me again, Heidi.
All right, Jenny. Have a good day.